Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Deep Fat Fried, starring the great, wonderful Paul Seeger.
Hi, everybody.
And the great, wonderful Scotty. And TJ.
Who was TJ?
Who?
I don't know.
Oh, wait. That was a dude in 2011 made some really good YouTube videos.
Back in
I remember
2011, when I used to be good. Just got to get Cody Weber back.
That's what it was.
Oh, shit.
I'm going to write to Cody now. Come back, Cody.
Come back, Cody. I'm sorry.
Come back, Cody. I'm sorry for what I said.
You can have him make some queercore for you or whatever we called it.
Yeah, queercore.
Remember when we
Let's
listened?
go see how it's going. Let's go back to
You going to go check on Cody Weber again?
Yeah, let's see this Saturday Night
Cody,
Films
why
channel.
don't you come?
I think he's a rapper now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I want to see how his rap is
Oh,
going.
shit. Well, hey, maybe he's good.
Maybe he's doing good. Videos. Yeah, he's got a video.
Would it be funny if Cody Weber gave you a copyright strike for playing his music?
He won't.
What if he does?
He loves me.
If there was something I could say, would you listen? And if I quickly ran away, would you notice? I doubt it, I'm outie. But I'm drunk and feeling rowdy, and I'm sadly making alibis, living in these stories.
It's still Cody Weber.
It's Cody Weber style.
It's definitely Cody. No, he's
doing good.
He
Doing
sounds pretty
good.
I definitely like the rap Cody better than I liked the techno Cody.
Yes, that's true.
Techno Cody was not great. Rap Cody is pretty good.
But you know who's better?
Who's better?
Is that Jareth Gawain?
Jareth Gawain? Dude, you don't know how to say
Gawain?
Gawain?
Gawain, dude. Like, Knights of the Round Table.
You heard his
Gawain.
Meetup? You guys played his Meetup song on here at all?
No, I don't think we did.
We should probably play it,
Yeah,
huh?
play a little bit of it.
Let's play the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, play it.
Yeah.
It's pretty dope.
Yeah, should I just mute us, or should we just
Yeah,
fucking...
mute it up. Just premiere it.
Yeah, this is our Meetup song, bitch.
It's me again. You ready for the meetup, you autistic pieces of shit? Welcome to the meetup. Deep fat fry, let's eat up. I'm about to turn the heat up. Deep fat fry, let's eat up. Welcome to the meetup. Deep fat fry, let's eat up. I'm about to turn the heat up. Deep fat fry, let's eat up. It's about to get lit up in here. I'm finna be your favorite rapper by the end of the year. New age with the flow, keep it crystal clear. Who got the liquor in the weed, bitch? Give it here. Cause by the end of the night, I'll be drunk and stoned. Forget I'm in Louisiana, try to stumble home. Trip over a banana, then I bust my dome. TJ, why you always bringing all that stuff on the road? Jareth Gawain, the Goblin King. You can't wake up, homie, this is not a dream. Autism shit talk doesn't bother me. Don't let me catch you slipping up in ideology. Cause I'm a spectre, bitch. Paul will feed you this epic shit. Wanna come up here and mess with this? Put your middle finger up in the air if you a pessimist. Like what? Welcome to the meetup. Deep fat fry, let's eat up. I'm about to turn the heat up. Deep fat fry, let's eat up. Welcome to the meetup. Deep fat fry, let's eat up. I'm about to turn the heat up. Deep fat fry, let's eat up. You talk a little too much, so say less. And fucking retarded women like JF. I start a sentence and then I just say bless. Who the fuck wants to go to the grave next? I'm so hungry, I think that I could eat a man. I think religious people think I got an evil plan. I'm in the corner with the reefer in my hand, posted up like Ace Scotty. Jesus, man, so bounce to the rhythm of life. I keep it synchronized with every sentence I write. Write a letter to your sanity and kiss it goodbye. You gon' get your soul stolen by the end of the night. I'm like killers and blades, Uber Bowl, Nicolas Cage. I hope you bitches calling in sick today. Make sure the town is shut the fuck down. Pessimist production slut, like what now? Welcome to the meetup. Deep fat fry, let's eat up. I'm about to turn the heat up. Deep fat fry, let's eat up. Welcome to the meetup. Deep fat fry, let's eat up. I'm about to turn the heat up. Deep fat fry, let's eat up. Tajika fans, put your hands up. Polishers, put your hands up. Scottists, put your hands up. If you're an artist, put your hands up. Get on my level, the rhyme rebel, the white devil. Got an arsenal of lyrical weapons and fine metal. Why should I settle? I write better when I'm high and fine wine, white pills and edibles. If you come around me and you acting stupid, I'm kicking your ass into a vat of brown recluses. Cause I laugh at nuisance. Pass the deuces, down back X, pitch backwards, Hadouken. I see all of you. Fuck all the lies, let's bring on the truth. Flip on the news, let's see all the doom. Paul said it best, let's bring on the nukes. Bring on the nukes. Welcome to the meetup. Deep fat fry, let's eat up. I'm about to turn the heat up. Deep fat fry, let's eat up. Welcome to the meetup. Deep fat fry, let's eat up. I'm about to turn the heat up. Deep fat fry, let's eat up. Welcome to the Meetup. Deep fat fry, let's eat up. About to turn the heat up. Deep fat fry, let's eat up.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, dude. Just
Tickets are available to the motherfucking meetup. I know it's short notice at this point, but if you've been on the fence, if you ain't sure, you ain't fucking, I don't know, man, I don't want to call off work or might lose my stupid job at Subway. Fuck you. Get your ass down to the motherfucking Deep Fat Fried Meetup,
there's literally
bitch.
no excuse at this point. There's no excuse, dude.
If any human being who is not there is a piece of fucking shit.
That is true. That's actually objectively true.
That's
if you're not
science,
there, you're
bitch.
a total piece of shit.
Go.
But if you are there, you're one of the elite, dude. You're one of the only real people in the world.
Yeah, you can look in that. No man can look down on you once
Nope.
you've been to a Deep Fat Fried
How
meetup,
would
bitch.
they? How could they? No, Jareth Gawain is going to rock the mic. He's
Yeah.
going to be open
He's gonna
for
be
us.
he's our opening act.
Dude, they're guaranteed to be at least a dozen big fat booties there of various gender.
Yep.
And
They're
when
gonna be
that
bouncing.
when that shit is playing, they're gonna be bouncing. And whether or not you pull up to the bumper and give it a smack is up to you. I mean, if the person seems into it, go for it. If they don't, though,
Sounds like
don't just
Paul,
go smacking ass.
Sounds like you're
Don't get
encouraging
me
sex-
too'd at the meetup.
You're encouraging sexual harassment, Paul.
No. I'm encouraging
Always get consent, Paul. Always get
consensual
consent.
booty smacking, rump shaking, and
And,
all of that fun shit.
The tickets for the meetup are down below in the comment section, as is the link to Jareth Gawain's channel, in
Yes.
case you want to check his shit out.
Indeed.
Yep. Go check it out.
Yeah,
Well,
and if
holy
it's
shit.
not there, that means that we forgot to put it there, so let us know. But if
Idiots, where video at?
it's youtube.com/user/JarethGT, just in case the link isn't
Jareth
there. For some
GT.
reason. Jareth GT.
Dude, he's got the
Real
same
easy.
name as the Goblin King from Labyrinth.
Yeah,
And
that's
baby
true.
said,
He's
dance.
Jareth Gawain, dude.
Jareth
The Goblin King.
motherfucking Gawain.
About to be your favorite rapper by the end of the year.
Yeah, it's
true.
stuff. Do it.
Some people said he sounds like a little juggalo-ish, which isn't a bad thing for me.
Juggaluggaluggaloo.
There's a little juggalo edge there, maybe. Sounds like he's been smoking cigarettes since he was like 6 months
Little
old.
bit of the juggle edge. Yeah, but we're gonna have a blast at the meetup. Seriously, it's gonna be a fucking great time.
It's gonna be
Show
drunken
up.
debauchery and crazy
By the way,
bullshit.
VIPs get to come in an hour early,
Yep.
and they get to drink, and they get to fucking party. And we've sold a shit ton of VIP tickets, so it's like you get fucking free booze between 7 and 8.
Yep.
Get free well liquor, free fucking draft beer.
It's gonna be awesome.
So if you're a fucking alcoholic and you're just looking for something to drink
I mean, that's
for free, you know.
You could load
Jesus,
up.
TJ.
Deep fat fried, let's
feed
drink
the,
up.
Yeah, feed the addiction. Drink as many drinks as you can within a 1 hour time span.
I mean, hey, dude,
I
there's
consider
bound
my-
to be an alcoholic or two out
I
there.
consider myself to
Probably.
be an enabler. And
Oh, okay. That would explain why I've been fat the whole time I've known you.
yeah, it's all my fault. Blame it on me.
Yeah, blame it on the TJ.
Blame it
wow,
on the
It's like a
TJ.
weight has been lifted off
Exactly,
my shoulders.
right?
You've been
You don't have to
enabling
blame-
my fatness.
Yeah, and if any of you other guys have bad habits you want to enable, I'm happy to do it.
You're happy to talk us into keeping doing it?
Yeah, and then you can blame me for your fucking failings and shit, so it
Cool.
works.
That sounds good.
It's like a service I offer.
I kind of like that because at the end of the day, I'm like, well, TJ was always encouraging me.
Yeah.
That actually sounds like a great deal.
I think I should just go pro with it. I think I should just fucking start charging people to enable them. Like, I'll give you a fucking 30-minute enabling session where I just encourage all your horrible
Oh,
shit.
God.
You
Should
should.
I do heroin, TJ?
Like reverse
Fuck yeah,
therapy.
you should.
Yeah, it's like, I'm here to fucking make your psychological shit worse.
Be
but,
angrier. Be
Yeah.
sadder.
Like, you know, I don't care. I'll enable any fucking behavior. Like, I beat my wife. It's like, you should fucking get a wrench and beat her harder. I don't give a shit.
I don't think you're going to be in business long, but more power to you. It's a great idea.
It's a great business
It's in the
strategy.
spirit of capitalism for sure.
And, I mean, you know, God bless capitalism. I'm all just
Hey,
saying.
you better keep that down. Tonight's show is not about capitalism.
Oh,
TJ.
shit,
In fact,
it's not.
I'm sad to see that neither of you as comrades is wearing red tonight for this show.
I am.
He is wearing red.
I made
Right.
sure that I wore the appropriate colors for tonight's show.
You did.
And Crypta Ducius Esquire has red hair, so at least he brought a little communism to it.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I got
Shut
red
up, Cody.
glasses, dude.
Is that Cody Weber back
Yeah,
from the dead?
it's Cody
I
coming
thought
back.
he died.
I was trying to find that damn Soviet music I found. Where the fuck did that go?
I don't know. You're the one that decided to play Cody Weber
Oh,
rap
God.
in the
Where'd it
middle of
go,
the goddamn-
guys?
Where's the Soviet music? What'd you
Oh,
do with
gosh.
it?
I didn't do anything with it.
Where's it at?
I'm not
Oh,
even
no.
near the controls for this shit.
You fucked it up, Paul.
How did I fuck it up?
You fucked everything up, Paul.
All right.
You little son of a bitch.
I take full responsibility for my
Yeah,
fuck
it's
ups.
about time you fucking do that, Paul.
I've been dodging responsibility.
Yeah, enough. Enough of your shit. Whatever. Some Russian music is
Whoa.
playing. And so is an image that happens as Russian.
So, tonight we were going to cover George McCarthy. And I'll be honest with you, I found out that despite the fact that he was involved in the Red Scare and McCarthyism, he's really not that interesting of a guy. Now, we're going to talk about him tonight. But this show has been broadened to kind of be a broad overview of our paranoia when it comes to Russia as a foe and how it has changed over the years and whether or not it still lingers in the American consciousness. Because I found out that our fear of the Ruski, the Hun, the invader from the Far East, is it goes a little deeper than I thought it did. It didn't really start in the post-World War II era. It started way earlier, after another war. Good old World War I.
World War One.
Which nobody ever talks about.
That is weird, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, like World War II.
It's kind of like Street Fighter and Street Fighter 2. Everyone
Yeah.
talks about 2. They don't talk about the first one.
Exactly.
Well, one has the Nazis and one doesn't.
So events in Russia in 1917 during World War I triggered the start of the first Red Scare. So I didn't even know there was a first Red Scare. Did you?
No, I thought it was just the
Yeah.
one.
Right. So every time I've learned about the Red Scare, it's been the one in the 50s with the the congressional hearings and McCarthy grilling people.
Oh, in the early 20th century, they had anarchists, they had communists that would blow up buildings and shit.
Well, that's one of
Cool.
the things that I found was a lot of the times, and this still happens, I think, to this day, is anarchists, socialists, strong libertarians, and communists were all kind of lumped into one big thing.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
all Reds.
totally.
So a lot of the stuff that made people paranoid at this time, or that people's paranoia was kind of stoked at this time about, really had nothing to do with communism. But that's getting a little ahead of ourselves. So in 1917, there was the Russian Revolution, which was aimed to topple the Russian monarchy. It led to the 1917 October Revolution when the Bolsheviks took power in Russia under their new leader, Vladimir Lenin.
Woo!
Our favorite comrade. One of the Can you pull up a picture of Vladimir Lenin, TJ? I should have put one here. Because he was a snazzy looking dude. So was Stalin.
They really understood the perception of, the appearance of the strong leader and fitting that, and they fit that bill, and that's why the Soviet Union was so successful under both of them. Well, Lenin was done away with very quickly, though.
There he is.
But I guess I know we're going to get into
Look
that.
at him. Check him out. Can you imagine Trump painted like this?
Fuck no,
It would be
dude.
laughable.
Let's see. What was that Trump painting that everyone got super amped up for?
I don't know.
It was like
I can't imagine getting
it was
amped
called
up
The
for one.
Masterpiece or something.
Oh, is it just him like holding a flag or something?
No, he's like painting a painting.
You gotta like this. It's like him leaning forward, like this is the future. You know what I mean? This is a great painting to kind of have a lot of symbolism and to look into like the future of Russia. Was this done in that time period, or do you know when?
I
this
don't
is
know when
that.
that painting was. Oh yeah, this is.
Oh, that's horrible.
This is the new one right here. Yeah, somebody put I remember somebody put that weird painting that Epstein had behind the curtain
Yeah.
with Clinton.
There was some
in the
memes
dress.
around this.
Yeah, but I mean, this just doesn't look like something that Trump would ever do, though. Is the problem?
Yeah, it doesn't really look like Trump.
So interestingly enough,
I mean, it does. You know what I mean.
the first Red Scare was kind of stoked by the government in order to sell people on us entering World War I.
Right.
In fact, before the kind of propaganda tactics started, Americans were staunchly against entry into World War I. In fact, most Americans wanted nothing of it, and so the government, wanting to profiteer on that war, had a problem on their hands. How do we convince a nation of people that looks at this as a European problem for European and Russian people to solve on their own, and make it something that we want everybody wants America over there? And the answer kind of came in the form of a former newspaper reporter for the Kansas City World that turned into a big propaganda master, a guy named George Creel. There's a picture of him, I think, if you go to or there might not actually be, but there's actually a little video about him that we could play now. So you want to play our first video?
Sure.
It'll give you a look at George
Let's
Creel.
do it. George fucking Creel, bitch.
George Creel was a master of public relations. Creel was the head of something called the Committee on Public Information, which basically was a propaganda organization in World War I. Creel started off as a journalist
His hair looks stupid.
in Missouri. He
Not that I could tell.
actually worked with Woodrow Wilson on his 1916 campaign based on the slogan, "He kept us out of war." We had actually spent 3 years.
Well, America's pretty bipolar on the whole war thing, huh?
We're very easily manipulated into feeling like we have the impetus to enter a war, though. Like, we have this very strong kind of isolationist element that I think everybody as an American has felt at some point. Like, why do we just pull all the troops out? Like, I can't think of an American that hasn't had that feeling at least once. But I think as a populace, we're really easily convinced, I guess as we'll see as we go on here, to that it's in our best interest to be involved in these things.
We gotta go to war again.
War profiteers need some more money.
Getting out of the war. So suddenly in 1917, when we entered the war, one of the very first things that Wilson did was bring George Creel on to shift public opinion in support of the war. He had to convince the American people that this was a war worth fighting and that this was America's war. That's a hard thing to communicate. From the moment that the war broke out, there were posters everywhere. There were images everywhere you looked, very deliberately shaping public opinion. George Creel was working very much behind the scenes. Nobody knew who he was. He was not a prominent figure in the Wilson administration, but he had this profound influence. World War I is this moment where propaganda is used in a very heavy-handed way, but George Creel did it brilliantly.
Unlike today.
Yeah, unlike today.
Yeah, no propaganda now. Woo! Back then, though.
I think that this era of American history is often dominated by talk of the 1921 market crash and the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl and all of that stuff. And it was a crazy time even outside of that to be an American. So the time leading up to and our involvement in World War I and then the time directly after, just an absolutely insane
Let me ask you this
time.
question, Paul.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time where it wasn't crazy to be a fucking American?
Maybe you're right. Maybe it's just you don't hear. We tend to keep good track of our craziness, even if we spin it in our own ways and recontextualize it as we go. And this is a blank area in my knowledge until I started learning a little bit about this. I mean, the amount of protests that went on during this time, labor union strikes became a huge deal at this time. And those were not like we picture them today, not like what I participated in when I was a little kid.
Right, these were violent clashes where people were killed. And,
people were killed in the streets, sometimes daily.
Have you guys ever heard of, like,
strikers were riddled with bullets? And
Well, not only that, they had this thing called after World War I called the Bonus Army that marched on D.C. and they were basically just violently thrown out. It was a bunch of veterans that had fought and were promised shit, and of course they didn't get it.
So you can imagine that, all of this craziness going on, these strikes, these, Scotty mentioned some terrorist attacks, and some of those were perpetrated by communists, some were perpetrated by anarchists. All of these things, the populace was very afraid, and that seems to be when they're at their weakest and most manipulable, is when...
No shit.
And we've seen that play out over and over again, even in our lifetimes.
I was just thinking the other day, and I don't want to get too far off track, but it does build on what you were saying. But I was thinking about the fact that we're coming up on the 18th anniversary of September 11th,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So that means that we're now going to have adults that were
not born.
Yeah, that were not born when the attacks happened, and that's crazy to me.
Yeah, it really is.
And it just
to me
means
too.
that there's people who are going to grow up. They've grown up entirely in the post 9/11 world. I'm like, oh, that sucks. You didn't even get to see how much better things were before we fucking Osama bin Laden came and kicked us in the shin, and then we fucking slit our own throats afterwards.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of difference here. I mean, we were in a way during that time. convinced to turn on ourselves and to turn suspicion on our neighbors for different reasons, but ultimately for similar reasons, xenophobic reasons.
Beat back the Hun with Liberty Bonds.
So the Creel Commission, which was run by George Creel, used cartoons, photographs, pamphlets, posters to paint a terrifying picture of what might happen if the Allies were to lose the war. And they were super, super effective. If you scroll through, I pulled a few of these, TJ. They're really fucking crazy.
Help Uncle Sam stamp out the Kaiser.
What the
Oh,
fuck?
shit, Scotty.
Yeah, Scotty, you are done for.
Dude, the fucking government's
That's
coming
him.
after me?
That's Scotty down there.
Nine!
The third Liberty
Government's
loan
coming
is
for
coming.
you, Scotty, and then there's that one, and then, whoa, it's Gorilla.
It's Gorilla, yeah. So this is trying to get people to enlist and just really obvious dehumanization of our enemies.
Destroy
you know?
this mad brute, and he's got that bitch with them big old titties hanging out and everything. I don't want to destroy him. I want to join him. He's got bitches and fucking big clubs and shit.
That's your club, TJ, and that's your bitch. That's what you're not understanding right now about this picture.
Oh, so he took my bitch in my club?
Yeah, and he's like, what are you going to do about it?
Oh, fuck. Okay, I gotcha.
So
Let's go kill him.
he also did.
Let's fight.
He also took advantage of a relatively new phenomenon
Can you
at
still
this
buy
time.
war bonds?
I think you probably can't. No.
You can buy bonds.
You can buy government bonds.
Is there more? I think there's
and
more.
they're used for war.
Oh, this is the famous one.
Of course, everybody's seen this. This actually cropped up during this era. The Uncle Sam, as we all envision him, was codified and finally put to paper during this era in order to shame us all with his baleful gaze and his big wagging finger to
Here's
get off our asses and get into the
Here's
army.
the thing I wonder about Uncle Sam. Why is he an uncle?
I don't know.
Like, why isn't he your father or something? Do they feel like that would have, like, too much of a authoritarian vibe, so they make
Maybe
him
so.
like,
Yeah, it's like your uncle.
he's your uncle.
He's that uncle that doesn't take no shit off of you, that
Right.
expects you to be your best, goddammit, no matter what. Because, man, you got to imagine how effective this was, because it's still effective.
I mean, people love. I mean, like I've put out shirts that are a parody of this. There's a million parodies of this.
Of course. It's
This
still
is
a
super
huge
iconic part of
if
culture.
you grew up in America, you know who this is.
This is like the Statue of Liberty almost in terms of fame.
One of the things that he also did was he took advantage of the burgeoning movie house industry, which had not yet moved on to talkies and sound features, but still was. He would film these like, and I didn't pull any of them because a lot of them were just silent text scrolling across the screen. There's no sound to them. But he was really good at he used every avenue. In fact, one avenue that is kind of interesting to me that had some crazy numbers attached to it was he had this army of what he called, there were 75,000 of them, and they're called the 4-Minute Men.
You see their poster here.
Yeah, this is a poster announcing a local meeting of the 4-Minute Men. These guys, now at this time, let me see. Speeches were considered, like oratorical skill was considered to be really super popular at this point. And guys that could deliver these barn burner 4-minute speeches, rousing people into a patriotic fervor were really popular pastimes. And so he had a group of these guys travel literally everywhere in the United States. I mean, they went to union halls, lodge meetings, synagogues, Sunday schools, churches.
Well, they wanted to they wanted a means of spreading the message. We have social media and other tools now. Like Trump can fucking spread his message in 2 seconds. But obviously in that time you need someone to go around and say, hey, I'm going to fucking convince a bunch of people of this. Like, it's like, stump speech or something. But just having 75,000 people able to make your stump speech
But instead of it just being the general public stepping up on their soapbox, these were guys with carefully crafted propaganda messages, carefully made to incite the crowd into a patriotic fervor of yelling and screaming and hooting and hollering and drinking. It was a raucous affair from all accounts. And they covered basically the entire United States. Listen to these numbers. This blew my fucking mind. Oh, by the way, just as an aside, Native American reservations, according to Creel himself, provided some of the most receptive audiences to this. Wow. So they loved it on the res, I guess. The 4-Minute Men speeches often focused on a specific need. So they were tailor-made to whatever the government needed most from the people at the time. So the military draft at one point was unpopular, so the 4-Minute Men went out and said, the draft is patriotic, and convinced America of it. Universal service by selective draft is what they called it. At other times, it was the Red Cross, a farm and garden initiative for growing food for the homeland and the war effort, food conservation so that they could use more of the food supply to send overseas. Liberty bonds, Treasury. Once Treasury Secretary McAdoo had President Wilson buy a $50 bond, and then Creel sent the 4 Minutemen around the country to challenge each American to match it. According to Creel's own statistics, so he might have fudged this, but a lot of the sources that I found seem to agree with his numbers for the most part. The 4 Minutemen, so it's an army of 75,000 guys, they gave 7,555,190 speeches to a total audience of 314 million. Now, given that the total population of the country was around 103 million each American heard an average of 3 speeches during the 19-month war effort. So these dudes literally every day did 10 of these. All over the country, 75,000 dudes.
Just canvassed everywhere.
Exactly. So,
I mean, that is an insane amount. I mean, and you saw how effective was it spreading their message. I mean,
absolutely.
And in that time period, like, how can you really do it? I mean, I guess there's
what
radio.
Post on Facebook or Twitter or any major social media account has been seen 3 times by everybody in America? Not many.
None.
I
don't think any.
I mean, this is like such mass exposure. It's like, but obviously it's a different time too. It's like, hey, this guy's gonna give a speech about why we need to do this, and if everyone in the town is going to hear that speech, and you said they're doing multiple speeches, it's constantly happening. You're at least going to know someone that's been to one of these fucking speeches, and you're going to fucking eventually be at some point invited to one.
So along with all of this patriotic fervor that was whipped up by the government came, and I know this is not going to shock either of you, a strong xenophobic streak, especially when it came to European immigrants, especially German immigrants, because, of course, they were the main antagonists in World War I.
And two.
And two, yes, of course. But the Red Scare, as it appeared, didn't really start until the Allies were stunned by Vladimir Lenin pulling out of the Great War and signing the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk with Germany on March 3rd, 1918. So at that point in time, the government started ramping up this strong the strong anti-German message that they were already turning out started to include Russia. So very soon after that, the Romanov royal family, the Tsar, his wife, and their children were brutally shot to death by the Bolsheviks, and that was seen internationally as just this horribly brutal act. I mean, you don't pass violence up the food chain.
And anybody who's interested in more about that shit, we covered a little bit in our Rasputin episode as well.
Yeah, and once again, I know we say this a lot, but it bears mentioning, this episode was so densely packed with personalities and events that could be further scrutinized that, it bears mentioning that this is an overview of this kind of concept.
This is the tip of the iceberg.
So that those two kind of things, Russia pulling out of the war and signing this treaty, and then the brutal murder of the Russian royal family and the replacement of the government by the Bolsheviks under Lenin had a huge effect on public opinion. Of course, the government stoked that.
I want to say that, whatever you want to say about Vladimir Lenin and all that shit, motherfucker was able to rock being bald.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty fucking...
Well, most Russians do, because they don't try that stupid shit of covering it up in different ways. Like, they just accept the dignified look that a man gains when he goes bald naturally.
Right.
They just let it happen. You know what I mean? And they keep it close cut.
And he just dresses sharp, and
and they keep the facial hair on point always.
Yeah, his facial hair is totally on point, and
iconic.
His eyebrows are very authoritative.
I mean, if you see a dude with this fucking facial hair pattern, it might be called something else. I think it's called a Van Dyke, but really, this is the Lenin.
You wouldn't
look.
believe what those liberal cucks. They make fun of our president, but they're over there sucking Lenin's dick, dude.
Yep.
Globalist scum.
Hey, I can't help it that he was way fucking.
All right, so let's just admit. I mean, look,
cooler than Trump.
I'm not saying that Vladimir Lenin is
a great
better
guy.
than Trump, or that I'd rather have him than Trump. No, I'm just saying that he looks more respectable as a leader than Trump does.
He looks a little bit more respectable.
I mean, also the fact that he's from
he looks a lot more respectable as a leader to me.
The fact that he's from like 100 years ago and it's like an old photograph and he looks authoritative and shit. I mean, because like, anyone that's going to rise to the top of the food chain in the Soviet Union or Russia or whatever you want to fucking call it is got to be a fucking commanding presence.
So let me ask you guys, let me see if you can guess. Along with a rise in the government stoking xenophobia, what else do you think came under attack very heavily at this time?
Dissent.
Well, there you go. That's one way of putting it. The freedom of speech.
Yeah.
The Espionage and Sedition Acts passed in
Awesome.
1917
Love
and
it.
1918 banned many forms of speech perceived as disloyal to America.
I pledge allegiance and silence about the war.
Wow.
By
Shut up,
1920
America!
So even if you have dissent, just keep it to yourself.
Yep. By 1920, several states passed laws banning the use of violence to cause social change, which I don't even know how you ban such a thing in a country that's built on that was absolutely founded on violence to achieve social change, given police unspoken authority to harass any such suspects. So,
Of course.
a huge increase in police intrusion into speech, a huge movement kind of supported by the people, backed by propaganda like we see here, about like tattletaling on your neighbor.
Oh, of course.
Oh, I heard Susie saying something about
They
how
don't support the war, yeah.
America should get out of that war, and she doesn't support the boys over there. I heard Susie saying she was going to a meeting of some group that wants to change the way things are, or whatever it is. It sowed the seeds of suspicion between Americans.
Yes.
And that was absolutely, positively engineered and stoked by the government and its propaganda efforts. So this is something they wanted. They wanted us.
I mean, the same shit's happening today, just in different.
Well,
fucking
of
more
course.
modern
I didn't look in your
ways.
research, but you had all covered the Comstockery kind of stuff about how they
No.
were like censoring the people and shit. Yeah, that was
I didn't cover it explicitly, but yeah, you talk a little bit about it.
well, basically, there's a guy that was a postal inspector, and like it was basically about obscene images, and he was trying to censor what people could send through the mail and what people could actually show. So it was basically a strong early in this time period, early 20th century, and actually a little bit of the 19th century movement to censor people, what images people could see, and what was obscene and what was not obscene. Which is, I think, almost the genesis. I'm not sure when that became sent out to the Supreme Court, but obscene versus freedom of speech.
Right.
So it really touched on the issue you're talking about. And it was like actually a very strong movement at the time to censor people for the good of our society.
And the
Like, look,
government wanted this. I mean, and they
well,
still
they need
do.
it because like you said, they make 75,000 people making speeches, and then you have other people going, well, "Wait a minute, how much is it going to cost?" Or what
Well, I
about
mean, look,
this? Oh no, you need to buy these bonds and shut up.
If you got a bunch of people going around making speeches to convince the public to your point of view,
Right.
you can't have someone else rising up and fucking saying the opposite and fucking challenging your narrative.
I mean, but look.
so
throughout
obviously
history.
you have to make it like any dissent is evil.
Even to this
basically.
day, Russia's now as a boogeyman to our country. Even to this fucking day, we still use them in the same capacity.
Well, we're going to cover that as we go along here, because really, when I started this episode, like I said, this was just going to be covering that one little point of the Red Scare, but really, it's just been happening constantly in this country on repeat, and we'll see that as we go. During World War I, something else happened in America. Workers started to get more rights and more places at the bargaining table in a strong industrial economy than had ever happened before in the United States. And with that came a strong sentiment of antipathy against unions. And of course, the government with its propaganda campaigns and the newspapers who were often complicit with the government, which is shocking now in an era of such a free and unattached press.
Of course.
Often ran cartoons like this, which literally, if anybody that read this paper, unless they were in the top 0.01 percentile of people reading the goddamn paper, should have been utterly offended by this. But of course, people are easily convinced to take positions that are directly
Man,
against
you know
their
what?
best interests.
One thing I gotta say about these fucking coal miners and shit, these people who go into fucking deep, horrible tunnels full of fucking deadly fucking shit floating around in the
Deadly
air and
chemicals and fumes, like
And,
thousands of feet below ground.
and
Yeah.
fucking pound on rock all day. Bunch of fucking whiners,
And
dude.
say what
Bunch
you-
of babies.
This was really, too, an unintended consequence of the war. So had the America not been drawn into World War I or joined World War I, there wouldn't have been this grand impetus to employ a mass amount of people and to allow them to go to this bargaining table and demand more rights because they needed more steel.
Well, because of
they
things like
needed
this,
more bullets.
in this time, child labor was perfectly acceptable. In the United
Absolutely.
States. They actually, in a lot of factories, preferred child to fix machines, and these machines that have all these moving parts because they had small hands and fingers. Of course, a lot of times they would lose their fingers and hands, and of course, they have no way to
So
make
it's
a
the
living.
old supply and demand in effect. The demand for labor was increasingly high because of the
yes.
war effort. And so labor, people that represented labor had
the
a
value,
chance.
the value
Right.
of their labor went up.
Right. If you walked out on a strike on a factory, then the boys overseas might not get a shipment of bullets that they need to kill the fucking Hun guerrillas. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You gotta back what you say with commensurate strength, and really for the first time, or one of the first times in American history, people were really working people, normal ass working people were able to grab a piece of that power and go, hey, this is ours. We make this shit. We got a say in this. Now, it wasn't like immediately they had all the health care and best wages in the world. It was a slow encroachment, but it started to happen because of the war. And after the war, of course, that impetus goes away. Suddenly, all those factories that were churning out tanks and bullets and helmets,
They don't need to do anymore.
you're laid off. Unemployment went through the fucking roof.
The Army did that too. There were so many soldiers after World War II. It's like, oh, a bunch of them, like, we don't need you.
And it was a huge contributing factor to the market crash as well. Just this giant hole that was left in a hugely industrial economy by the war, which eventually, of course, led to the New Deal. But we're just kind of going through the chain of events now. So 1919 saw this massive wave of strikes in America. It got branded at the time the Red Summer. So already the implication that the labor movements are all communist in nature and that labor collective bargaining is an inherently communist idea.
So basically, they use their fear of Russians abroad to crush unions at home.
Yes.
Cool, gotcha.
And I'm not saying that there wasn't a communist element.
And you still got cocksuckers. I mean, basically, this is today's
there were
Republicans
communists
that, are
that
crushing
were
these people.
I mean, obviously the rights of the workers there were communist elements to some labor movements. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you there were no people that believed that a communist society would be better that didn't advocate for the labor
we talked about terrorist attacks that happened earlier. Of course, there are people that definitely advocated this and would kill.
But
for
your
it.
average
That's
member
their
of the
fucking
labor union joined
in
it
a
because
fucking
they
country,
wanted...
in a country with freedom of speech, there should be no controversy about someone calling themselves a communist if they fucking want to.
Right.
Sorry.
And it says here...
There's nowhere in the First Amendment that it says accept communism.
Right. And this is actually, this is the United Workers of the World, I believe.
Communists.
And they actually were a radical union that sought to unify all labor under one banner for not just collective bargaining, but actually to assume power in the world.
I mean, it's,
But not most labor union members were not communists nor communist sympathizers. In fact, they were very patriotic Americans. And when I grew up, my family was a member of a labor union.
Here comes another fucking anecdote.
There was not a single commie among them.
Go back to the spanking image, TJ.
Look behind the mask.
So listen to this.
Communism is dead.
By the end of
That's you,
1919,
Paul.
so we're still in 1919. By the end of it, there had been more than 3,600 strikes involving over 4 million workers protesting against high inflation levels, unemployment, and wage cuts.
That's crazy. Think about today.
The one that really stood out to me was at one point for like a week, the entire police department in Chicago walked off the job, demanding collective bargaining. And the city, as is expected, descended into anarchy for like 10 days. There were riots and stealings and stabbings and crazy bullshit. So, like, this was a huge deal. And for people that had... You understand how people hold on to tradition and shit. So
I mean, religion is the greatest example of that.
Right.
Yes, of course.
But, it extends beyond that into the way Americans thought about themselves. And there was a strong element of Americans that were either...
almost everything in your life, when you go to another country, you notice that immediately. Like, there's just it could be a small difference, it could be a huge difference. But,
Yes.
like, as Americans, when we say that, it means something to us in particular, like how we've been raised, how we lived our lives, and how we, view the world.
Right. And this was one of those things. It created a strong division in people where, it was just another reason for us to point our finger at other Americans because there was a strong sentiment that people that were really arguing for their right to collectively bargain for their labor were horrible anti-American agents and people that were against the American dream, when really they were just trying to grab their piece of it.
Well, that's why they wanted people to look out.
Right, they were being so exploited, though. I mean,
of course.
I didn't pull a whole bunch of facts about labor, but
dude, 1860 to the time you're talking about was like the fucking pinnacle of laissez-faire capitalism, where it was just like, I'm the factory owner, and you're gonna do what I fucking say, or your ass is on the street.
It was unbelievable what people and
the
children.
Company store.
Oh yeah, the company store. People used to be paid in company script. It was very common for coal companies to pay their miners in what they called company script.
A lot of people compare that to Amazon, by the way.
Yeah, Amazon has kind of been accused. I've heard them accused of handing out company script. But really, back then, you didn't get paid in anything but company dollars, and you could only take those company dollars to the company store where they got to control all the fucking price. It was just horrible.
It was basically their way of making sure that
they had you by the balls.
Right.
Yeah,
entirely.
They own their workers wholly and completely, and none of the money ever really leaves their hands because it all just flows right back.
It's just a fucking circle.
Right. Now, I will say again,
it's basically just a complicated form of slavery.
The fear of communists being stoked by the government, as it obviously was here with this, propaganda poster, which I thought is actually kind of cool. I'd like to put this up on my fucking wall. It's got an old school appeal.
It almost looks like something Adult Swim would make.
Yeah. But it was also stoked by these very small but very vocal groups of anarchists, socialists, and communists
who did espouse those ideas.
Who were espousing communist ideas in some cases. Sometimes they weren't.
Sure,
Anarchists aren't communists, and neither are socialists.
Yeah, they're like no government. Of course,
right.
Yeah.
But they were all
actually the pure conception of communism is supposed to be it's supposed to be anarchistic. Because the idea was
anarcho-communism,
or
whatever.
The idea of the ultimate idea.
Everyone cooperates together.
The ultimate idea of communism is that after we have to establish this authoritarian government for the transitional phase, but eventually people are going to become so conditioned to be good communists that human beings will be able to self-organize without any sort of hierarchical authority structure.
Granted.
Which
and
is
there's definitely crossover in some of the ideas of socialism and communism.
Of course,
they're from the same tree, but they were just kind of lumped together, and they were once again very small groups of people, very inconsequential on the national stage, but they were amplified in the media.
Absolutely.
And they were also very vocal. They really wanted to get their message out, and so people would run into them, and word of mouth would spread. And so that really helped to stoke these fires of communism, or this Red Scare that happened from about 1917 to 1920, 21 or so. It was only until the war kind of died down and things reached equilibrium again that the Red Scare, now it never really totally went away, but it kind of went underground for a while, and it was put on the back shelf of our American fear list.
As people,
as people
decided to be afraid of different things.
It turns out, even before the age of mass media, people's attention span were still measurable in nanoseconds, you know what I mean? And they got tired of being scared of the Russians for a while.
Like, we need a new boogeyman.
Yeah, so go ahead and play the next video for us, TJ.
This is the World War II one, right? This is World War II.
Yes, this is interestingly enough.
Hold on, let me lower it down a little.
Sure. Well, now we can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
Well, kind of. Oh, there we go. It's a cool song.
Together we can do it. I see. Hitler's going to surrender. Dude, we should go buy war bonds. It's patriotic as fuck. Was that supposed to arouse me? Because it did.
Yeah, it did.
I mean,
you want to pull down those dining boxes?
Why did they give Hitler that big ass Kardashian booty?
Oh, TJ, you want to pull him down in mining boxes? Yeah.
Why'd they draw Hitler so sexy? Damn it!
He did have a big thick ass.
I know. They gave him a big meaty ass. Why'd they do that?
This is our war and we've got to win. Yeah, that's right. It's your job, TJ. It's my job.
Oh, come on.
Oh, there he is again.
Yes, TJ.
They're literally targeting his asshole. Come on.
Scheißen.
I mean,
Get away, you little planes.
I've been so naughty.
it's like Hitler giant fetish.
Dude, there's a lot of great. Actually, in New Orleans, they have the World War II Museum, and they definitely have some stuff from World War I, too, and it's really great to see this stuff in person and kind of get the
I still
feel.
haven't gone yet. I want to go.
You have to go to that.
Anyway, well, you can stop playing this, TJ. We don't have to play the whole song. It's just I wanted to give an idea that, interestingly enough, the war gets into full swing, and all of a sudden, all this propaganda is back. And with it comes the same old culprits, xenophobia and language control and suspicion of fellow Americans. It's almost like it's tied in some way to these wars.
I don't believe it.
So following World War II, the Democratic United States and Communist Soviet Union became entangled in a series of largely political and economic clashes known as the Cold War.
Cool.
Which we could do a whole fucking show on in and of itself. We'll cover a little bit about it here. So that intense rivalry between the two superpowers raised concerns in the United States, and I would say that the government raised concerns in the United States. That communists and leftist sympathizers inside America might actively work as Soviet spies.
And
pose
this
a threat.
nonsense continues to this day, by the way.
You know what, Paul?
Well, we'll talk
Once
about
again,
You and your pinko pals must love this episode, huh, buddy?
that. Oh, yeah. Definitely. So this is
Pinko Paul.
This is J. Edgar Hoover, another personality that we could do literally 2 or 3 shows on, probably. But we'll cover him briefly here.
I didn't recognize him without looking like Leonardo DiCaprio in bad.
Yeah, that's true.
Clown makeup.
That's how I picture him now, too.
That's how I see him.
So he was quick to equate any kind of protest with communist subversion, including, but not limited to, the civil rights demonstrations led by Martin Luther King. Hoover labeled King a communist and covertly worked to intimidate and discredit the civil rights leader. He did that to a lot of people. There were huge overstep of civil rights abuses at this time, where his agents would infiltrate different anarchist, communist movements and subvert them from the inside and plant drugs.
Oh my God, dude! J. Edgar fucking Hoover had it was called like his files. He had fucking dirt on pretty much every major fucking political figure in Washington,
absolutely.
D.C. And that's how he maintained his position for so long. He was the founding director of the FBI, and he was there for like 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
It was a ridiculous amount of
And
time.
he himself was a colorful figure.
He liked to wear colorful dresses.
Yeah, he liked to
did.
wear dresses. So a lot of his, paranoia might have come from a closeted sexual preference that he was never able to really fully express. But as crazy as he was, some of the ideas that he espoused weren't totally unfounded. The USSR, which is what it was called at the time, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, had long carried out espionage activities inside America with the aid of U.S. citizens, particularly during World War II. So it was very common for Russia to start spying on us at this time.
Of course.
It happened. We were also, it doesn't mention in the research I pulled.
We were doing the same thing.
We were looking at them just as hard as they were looking at us. But apprehension about the Soviet influence grew as the Cold War heated up, stoked by U.S. leaders. They decided to take action, and on March 21st, 1947, President Harry S. Truman issued Executive Order 9835, known as the Loyalty Order, which mandated that all federal employees be analyzed to determine whether they were sufficiently loyal to the government.
Missing a picture here. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
It was this one.
Oh, okay. Truman's loyalty program was a startling development for a country that prized the concepts of personal liberty and freedom of political organization. So it's a very Central American ideal, even today, at least in the minds of Americans, that we can talk to who we want, we can say what we want, we got that freedom of speech. And it was in strong challenge at this point.
Well, you have to love the presupposition.
I think a lot of people today, I mean, like a lot of the conservatives I hear talk seem to feel like this is what's happening to them now.
But
Like this
Sure.
is this sort of propaganda campaign of making their political ideas unviable and somehow like wrong or something is like that's what I think that's part of what they mean when they're like conservatism is the new counterculture. I feel like they would almost if they weren't already brainwashed to hate communism themselves, they could almost compare their plight to socialists and communists and
Right,
anarchists in America in this time.
So that kind of brings us up to speed. We're in the post-World War II era, just like before. In the post-World War I era, there was a dip in the need for labor, and labor kind of needed to reassert itself, and there was kind of a dark time where people turned against the government in certain ways, or turned against at least the power structure that had come to be because of mass unemployment. And, once again, we see this stoking fire of suspicion amongst one another. And that's kind of brings us up to Joe McCarthy here, who I was going to do this whole episode on, but who really, honestly, not that interesting of a guy outside of his.
So tell me why he's not that interesting.
Well, I'm just he was kind of just a normal dude. He seized on this paranoia, and it's been insinuated that he might have suffered from some mental problems related to paranoia. Because of he before this, he was just kind of a nobody. He was just a senator. And
it's one of them senator nobodies.
But clearly,
Right.
for a time, he vocalized what a lot of people felt and were thinking.
I mean, he just had an unremarkable career leading up to this.
Right.
And
Sure.
his life, this was not, this is what he's most well known for, so we'll talk about that. But him as a focal point for an episode.
Let me just give a brief little anecdote here.
Sure.
Not really my own little anecdote, but it's you ever seen the film? It's the Edward R. Murrow movie.
Good night.
Yeah.
Good night and good luck.
Yeah.
A lot of the audiences for that, like test audiences, part of the feedback they gave to the studios is like, we liked the movie, but we thought the guy that played McCarthy was too over the top. Not realizing that was actually archival footage of McCarthy.
Yes.
They're like, they basically the audience is like, the actor playing him isn't doing a credible enough job.
Right.
So
There was no actor, unfortunately.
If you play the next video, TJ,
Yes.
This is a little 1 minute speech given by McCarthy around this era.
Mm-hmm.
A
And
communist threat?
I want you to hold on and pause it.
Sure.
I want you to listen to modern analogs. Listen for things that are used in modern politics in this speech. You might
Okay.
find a few.
all right, let me go ahead and boost the volume back up because it was kind of low from that
Sure.
song we played.
I think we should keep in mind when we refer to Democrats, when we refer to the administration, that there are definitely two groups of Democrats as of today.
Oh, that's still a talking point.
Oh yeah, just let it keep
Just
going.
even that is
Number
just,
one, there are the millions of loyal Americans who have voted the Democrat ticket. Individuals who are just as loyal, who hate communism just as much, and love America just as much as the average Republican. That's one group. On the other hand, there is that small, closely knit group of administration Democrats who are now the complete
Deplorables.
prisoners and under the complete domination of the bureaucratic, communistic Frankenstein.
this is still a major Republican talking point
Yes, it
today.
is.
They still do this whole like, well, look, there's the sane Democrats,
The deep state.
and then there's the
wackos.
the evil wacko Democrats who
Antifa.
want to fucking ban cows and ban airplanes and whatever other fucking bullshit.
And really, what is he doing but sprinkling suspicion amongst the population of, is that Democrat that lives across the street from me one of the good guys, or is he one of these bad ones?
How do you know? How can you even tell?
I better start listening to what he's doing. Maybe I'll go through his garbage when I walk the dog early in the morning. Yeah, I'll check and see if he's got any literature in there I should know about.
But a lot of the stuff, it's like the presupposition is like you said, like there's even, like, before you even do this, the premise is introduced in the beginning, like, hey, there's a problem with your neighbor, and you don't know. He says a Democrat. What kind of Democrat is he? What kind of person is he? Is he a
Right.
communist? Is he someone that's going to betray America? Is he going to blow up a building? We don't know. Is he going to aid our enemies?
Well,
Which they themselves
Should I keep playing?
no, you can stop it. That just kind of two groups of people thing. It just so echoed Hillary Clinton during the last fucking presidential
I mean,
campaign.
I feel like it echoes. Yeah,
And so many others,
It echoes
too.
Trump as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see the Hillary thing with the whole like deplorables, or Trump about Mexicans. You know, I assume some are good people, but a lot of them rapists and this and that. They like to do this two group thing so that they can talk shit about a group with seeming like, oh, but I'm giving myself this
Yeah,
out. Of
I'm
saying,
talking
well, they're
about-
not all like
Yeah.
that.
Well, I'm talking about the bad people.
but a
that
lot
do
of
it.
them are.
Well, it's
know?
like you say, like these criminals they sent from other countries are horrible. No one's gonna say, "Well, I'm defending the criminals," but obviously it's generalizing an entire group of people and saying, "Well, you're all criminals."
Well,
Or a
but
large
they're
percentage.
trying to like sidestep the generalization by saying, well, but some aren't like that.
Of
But a
course.
lot of
Right.
them are. A lot of them
Well,
are.
well, that's what you always have to say too. That's
and
a
who
cover
could it
dress.
be?
Yeah, and it's like a big mystery. So anybody who's that could be one or
Could
the
it be
other.
globalist Paul?
You know, it's like
Yep.
maybe the food is poison, maybe it's not.
So he made a speech in West Virginia that really kind of burst him onto the national stage on February 9th, 1950. At one point in the speech, he waved a sheet of paper in the air and proclaimed, "I have here in my hand a list of 205 names that were made known to the Secretary of State as being members of the Communist Party who nevertheless are still working and shaping U.S. policy." Since the Wisconsin Republican had no actual list, when pressed, the number changed to 57, then later 81. Finally, he promised to disclose the name of just one communist, the nation's top Soviet agent. The shifting numbers brought ridicule, but it didn't matter, not really. McCarthy's claims won him fame and fueled the ongoing Red Scare. So it was just, the time was ripe for this shit again.
Gotta root out the commie skirt.
I've got a piece of paper here.
Take over America.
That's so effective to so many people, strangely enough. Having that
Wait,
piece
didn't
of paper.
Trump do that? Didn't he
Yes.
Didn't he have like
I got a piece of paper right
he
here.
passed but he stood up with he had like a bunch of papers and he was like, "This is my file on something or another."
It was a trade deal.
Parallels upon parallels upon parallels here.
I mean, whatever, And the ridicule bouncing off him, that's another kind of Trump thing.
Oh, we haven't seen that ever. I've never seen anything like that before. Have you?
No, never.
The ridicule actually strengthening him in some way?
I've never even now that you say that, I've never heard of it.
Never.
I'm naive about it.
So the next month after this speech, a Senate subcommittee launched an investigation and found no proof of any subversive activity. Moreover, many of McCarthy's...
because they'd already been controlled by the commies.
Right. Moreover, many of McCarthy's Democratic and Republican colleagues, including President Dwight Eisenhower, disapproved of his tactics. Dwight said, "I will not get into the gutter with this guy." Still, the senator continued his so-called red baiting campaign, which we'll talk a little bit about later. In 1953, at the beginning of his second term as a senator, McCarthy was put in charge of the Committee on Government Operations, which allowed him to launch even more expansive investigations of the alleged communist infiltration of the federal government. Even though at this point he'd never demonstrated a single fucking communist anywhere in the government. Just waved some papers around.
You know how that goes. If you can't apparently find one, then you can make ones.
And more than 2,000 government employees lost their jobs due to, even with zero evidence of subversive activity, he never turned up a single commie. So I wanted to take a little break before we talked a little bit more about Joseph McCarthy and talk about the psychology behind this a little bit. Because it's interesting to me that human beings are so easily convinced to be suspicious of one another and to it's so obvious that the government is orchestrating this, and it's so obvious what a useful tool it is to draw the eye of the average American.
I mean, they're playing on stuff that's like obviously
like a primal
right
fear.
from our evolutionary history and fear of the other.
That
and
other
stuff,
person could kill you or hurt you. You don't know them.
I mean,
What are
that's
they
like
gonna do to you?
to me, that's like the same thing behind like the zombie movie. Like, oh shit. I mean, like I was walking through those casinos in Vegas, and I was just looking at the amount of people around me, and I was like, what if all these people just went ape shit and started trying to attack me? I'd have no fucking recourse. And that's basically the concept of like a zombie movie.
Right.
And it's the same fucking fear that's being exploited here. It's just like, there's people out there who are your enemy, who are trying to do you harm.
Well, it's also, you can also look at it this way, too. It's like people might be the good people, but everyone else you don't know, they're all bad people. We don't know anything about them.
I mean, it's a useful smokescreen, too, if you're a government that wants to make more and more money. More and more capital and to continue to exert more and more influence across the globe. I mean, how useful is it to keep the
fear sells.
Prying eye of the public away from you and on each other? So it was very useful for that. But why are we so prone to that? I really couldn't find an answer, obviously. But I did find a pretty interesting paper that kind of equates this type of relationship, this suspicion amongst the nation and this idea of the idealized enemy to a virus and antibody reaction. So you induct the virus, and as it spreads around, more and more antibodies, in this case, people that are suspicious of communism, are born. I thought it was an interesting kind of springboard to talk about because really there's no conclusive evidence as to why people are so susceptible in mass. Mass psychology is still kind of a big nebulous thing. Some stuff is understood about it, but it's still, I could find no concrete answer as to why we seem to be so easy to manipulate when we're afraid, away from what our real problem is. Because it's happening now. I mean, we've
it's
said that
happening every day.
We've said that a billion times.
What are these celebrities doing? What are these people doing?
Right.
You know,
social justice bullshit.
Well, and think about this. Like, you'll see shit like the Amazon's on fire, and that's like, people care for like 10 minutes, and now, what did this celebrity fucking get up to? It's like, we do that constantly, and it's interesting when people look at history and they can clearly see the propaganda, and they can recognize it then, but now they're just totally blind to it.
Right. I'm trying to find this little quote here. Let's see. So J. Edgar Hoover, once again, his ideation of communism substantiates a viral metaphor that we use, kind of the virus and antibody. He says, victory will be assured once communists are identified and exposed because the public will take the first step of quarantining them so they can do no harm. Communism, in reality, is not a political party. It is a way of life, an evil and malignant way of life. It reveals a condition akin to disease that spreads like an epidemic, and like an epidemic, a quarantine is necessary to keep it from infecting the nation. So that's a quote from good old J. Edgar here.
Well, you remember, too, I mean, they had the recordings of Ronald Reagan, who was a fucking B-movie actor, talking about socialized medicine. This is the time we had the rise of employer-based healthcare.
Look,
as well.
I mean, it's pretty fucking obvious to me that this fear of communism was primarily a mechanism that the business fucking class used.
As a fear of the masses.
To suppress labor.
Yeah, well, to suppress labor, to suppress things like healthcare, like treating the general, like any idea that like put the actual populace front and center and the well-being of average Americans was basically lambasted as communist.
Yep.
And dismissed on that basis.
Well, they actually saw it was one of those situations where they saw the writing on the wall, like this could go another way if we don't deal with this now.
Right, because I mean, all the big business interests are scared of
it's
universal health care.
It's like, why do people have
workers' rights
Well,
and things like that because they don't make as much money that way.
Well, it's why do people expect to have weekends off and 40-hour work weeks and all these things? Just because of these labor movements. Like, business owners didn't give a fuck how long you worked. They don't care if you fucking work till you drop fucking dead. They don't care if you're a fucking kid. As long as they're making money, they don't give a shit. You don't have health care? That's your problem, asshole.
So this is actually one or two incidents of actual spying is usually all it takes to justify this narrative, and these are really the only concrete examples from this time. This is, it's as concrete as we can assume it is.
Sure.
Julius and Ethel Rosenberg here were convicted of espionage and executed in 1953.
Damn.
For giving information about the atomic bomb to the Soviets. It's one case that's actually kind of stood the test of time. As recently as 2008, a co-conspirator of the Rosenbergs admitted to spying for the Soviet Union and how he helped them and all of this. So
was he executed?
No, I think
he ratted on them.
Yeah. Another person at the time that was maybe a lot of people feel was railroaded. He maintained his innocence his entire life. This is Alger Hiss. He was an American government official. Yeah, I know. Great name for a guy that the government wants everybody to hate. Mr. Hiss. He's accused of being a spy for the Soviet Union in 1948 and convicted of perjury in connection with this charge in 1950. Before he was tried and convicted, he was involved in the establishment of the United Nations, both as a U.S. State Department official and a UN official. In later life, he worked as a lecturer and author. So I won't go into the whole thing, but he arguments about the case and the validity of the verdict took center stage in the broader debates about the Cold War, McCarthyism, and the extent of Soviet espionage in the United States. Since Hiss's conviction, statements by the involved parties and newly exposed evidence have added to the dispute. Author Anthony Summers argued that since many relevant files continue to be unavailable, the Hiss controversy will continue to be debated. The 1995 Venona papers prompted more support for the theory that he was a Soviet spy, but were not yet deemed conclusive by most sources. Hiss maintained his innocence until his death. So it's not really clear whether or not this dude was just kind of a patsy or maybe a victim of the obvious suspicion growing that there was this communist movement embedded in the government. But really, the tactics that Joe McCarthy were most known for have been kind of given this term race bait, or not race baiting, sorry, that's a different kind of baiting, red baiting. And it actually wasn't invented because of him. It was invented during the first Red Scare. But it's the idea that you put a person, basically, and this is a very, very brief summation of it off the top of my head, but the basic idea is that you put a person immediately on the defensive when you make any kind of accusation at all.
Right.
Especially if you drag them before a panel and put them in front of all these powerful people that have the right to take away their freedom. You know, you put a person on the back foot immediately. And so that's really why it's called red baiting. It's this idea that you just throw out accusations without any foundation whatsoever and see what sticks. And it's still used to this day in various ways, actually by both parties.
Yes.
And
other groups, too.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Red baiting consists of making false and or groundless accusation that some person is a communist or a fellow traveler, often with the aim of discrediting them or destroying their reputation. Just the sheer weight of the accusation is enough to do that.
That's like
I hate to use this comparison necessarily, but it kind of reminds me of some of the more spurious aspects of the Me Too movement.
Oh, yeah. And as we'll talk about a little later, the Russiagate.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, I mean, any insinuation, you're a sexist, you're a pedophile. It's
Right.
just something that if someone says your name and you're a pedophile and it's picked up by the media, then everyone's going to go, you're a pedophile.
Right. That's it. As such, red baiting is a form of guilt by association, a fallacy which Stalin himself used to justify some of his crimes. So,
Yeah, I
see
mean,
a little parody.
it's kind of interesting to know that, to really think that, you know, as this propaganda is ramping up in the U.S. to poison people to this way of thinking.
It's happening over there as well.
Over
Yeah.
there in
Yeah.
the communist countries, there's similar propaganda poisoning them to a different way of thinking. And it's just basically like another way. I mean, both sides are trying to turn their slave class against the other slave class as the ruling elites laugh and fucking
as a form
play.
of social control.
So, as a proof that Scotty really is the Kaiser, I would like you to play the next video for me, TJ. So this is, I can't remember the name. Here, I'll get it for us. It's something and Scotty. This is Lulu Bell and Scotty.
Lulu Bell and Scotty.
And I didn't know Scotty had a good voice like this, but that's clearly him in the picture.
Yeah, looks
Obviously.
exactly like him.
That's Scotty to the T. So why?
It was a hoot.
Let's hear what he has to say.
Let's do it.
I'm also pretty good at the banjo.
Country,
Might I add.
that's the finest place on earth. But some folks don't appreciate this land that gave them birth. I hear that up in Washington they're having an awful fuss, 'cause communists and spies were making monkeys out of us. The bureaus and departments have been busy night and day. They're figuring out just how we gave our secrets all away. And Congress has appointed a committee, so they said, to find out who's American and who's a low-down red. They call them
Didn't really
up to
rhyme that well.
Washington to speak for Uncle Sam. But when they ask them what they are, they shut up like a clam.
Well, yeah, wouldn't you?
No, he's gonna tell you what he would do.
I wish they'd take and put me on the witness stand today. I'd yell so loud old Stalin could hear me all the way. I'm no communist, I'll tell you that right now. I believe a man should own his own house and car and cow. I like this private ownership, I want to be left alone. Let the government run its business and let me run my own.
It's funny because the government actually brainwashed you into that way of thinking.
So, gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity that I have you on the record to ask you a few questions. I thank you both for submitting to the I was about to say request. I'm sorry. Could you strike that from the record, please? Thank you. The demand that you appear here today to account for your loyalties. Could you move to the next picture, please?
Which one? What do you got?
Keep going, keep going, keep going. There we go. That's the picture that I want. Is this a picture of you, Mr. Kirk, T.J. Kirk? Am I
Yes.
wrong? Thomas James Kirk III,
Yeah.
is that your legal name?
Yes.
Is this a picture of you, sir?
Yes.
And could you tell me who the woman is that you are pictured with in this picture?
That's my wife, Chelsea.
Your wife, Chelsea.
girlfriend at the time.
Your girlfriend at the time. Thank you, sir, for clarifying that. We'll make that a part of the record. Now, sir, are you aware that Chelsea, as you know her now, Kirk, but as she was once known, Chelsea Julene, she was involved in an act of communist subversion when she was in high school?
Yeah.
You were aware of this, sir, and yet you seem very chummy with her at this point. In fact, you described her at this point in your life as your girlfriend. Your smile here looks very genuine, sir.
Uh-huh.
Why would you have your arm around a communist or a communist sympathizer, sir?
Because I like her.
That is not. Okay. Take this off the record, Mr. Kirk.
Yes.
Have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
No.
Do you know anyone who has ever been a member of the Communist Party of the United States of America?
I'm not sure. I can't. I
That
don't
doesn't
know.
sound like a hard no, sir.
Yeah,
That doesn't sound like a hard no, sir. Do you want to?
It's a maybe.
Would you like to take a drink of the water that we provided for you and take some time to refresh your memory and recollect, sir? Because I can tell you for one thing, I've never associated with a communist.
How do you know?
Am I running this meeting, sir?
I don't know. Are you?
Bailiff, would you take Mr. Kirk away to the prison cell?
Okay.
He's being held in contempt. We will have him back at our earliest leisure. We will move on to our next witness. Could you move to the next slide, please? Scott Kirk.
Yeah, that's me.
This is a picture of you, is it not?
It looks like me, yeah.
Yes, and you share a name with a recent occupant of this room, is that correct?
Yes.
Would you give the last name that you share and give the full name of the person whose name that you share, sir?
It's Kirkensteinisch. Yes.
Okay.
And it's Thomas Kirk.
Oh, yes, the man that was just dragged away for impugning this court, impugning these proceedings.
Yeah, I think he's gone. He's out of here.
Yes. Do you know why he's out of here, sir?
Because he's a damn dirty communist.
Oh, yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Were you aware that your brother, sir, was a communist sympathizer?
Fuck no.
And that he routinely was in the presence of a known and avowed communist sympathizer, a woman who would not even stand for the great anthem of this country?
I'll be honest with you, that turns my stomach, the thought of that. And I had no idea. I had no conception. If I had a conception, I would have disowned them both immediately.
Well, sir, I assume that you would be willing to provide any relevant documents that you might have
Anything
and access
you want.
to any
Anything.
accounts
I'm innocent. I didn't do anything wrong.
of Mr. Kirk III's as we continue the investigation into what seems like a deeply rooted red sympathy in that branch of your family. But I would like to tell you that your testimony here today has shown us that it is not the entire Kirk tree that is rotten, but simply one fat and disgusting branch. So thank you, Mr. Kirk. So that was now that's a little bit of a overblown example, but it was indicative of McCarthy's very, very forward and aggressive and accusatory style. He never allowed anybody the front foot, and the accusations came hot and heavy, and the implications came hot and heavy, and nobody was ever really allowed to answer. It was more about the spectacle of dragging people in, and he really went after Hollywood, which is a common meme to this day in the Republican Party, that Hollywood is this liberal place.
The loony left out there in Hollywood living in their mansions. They're not like you and me.
But he dragged a lot of people. People that were really big names, before the Charlie Chaplin.
Well, of course, they have a huge...
Charlie Chaplin was implicated in this.
Yeah, he was. You have to think about it. Hollywood has a huge platform, and obviously it's rivaling politics as far as social control and people looking to these movie stars, and obviously that they're stars for a reason. So if they're not towing that line, well, there must be a reason why. Oh, they're a bunch of communist sympathizers. They're pinkos. They're not people that actually love.
Well, they
this
would call it
country.
like un-American, and actually a lot of
un-American activities. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was movies that were labeled as communist propaganda,
and that's when we had
that were not.
Well, remember the Hays Code? You can't have a couple sharing a bed. You can't show a gun being discharged. Just a bunch of shit like this, trying to control, Hollywood in a sense, and make sure they don't make certain kinds of movies. Like, I think it was you couldn't have like sympathetic communist characters or something.
Oh,
shit like that in movies where it's like, oh, communism can only be portrayed as evil and bad and wrong.
There was a movie with Gary Cooper called High Noon that, let me see. I forget. I think it was John Wayne or something that called it like the most un-American movie he'd seen or something. I'm doing this from memory.
High Noon?
Yeah, John Wayne hated this movie. He thought it was communist propaganda. You ever seen High Noon?
I might have. If I have, it's been a long.
I have not seen it.
Okay, so it's a really awesome Western, super underrated. It's actually a classic, but this movie was labeled as communist, and it's not at all. Basically, it's about a sheriff who is leaving. He's retiring. And there's an outlaw that wants to come shoot him that's coming back to town. And the whole town's kind of just like, just leave early, sheriff. Just get the fuck out of here. We don't want this trouble in this town. And he's like, well, no, this guy's a fucking criminal, and he's coming here to do his same crime shit that he's done before. I'm the fucking sheriff. We got to do something. So it's like, all right, well, sheriff's going to put together a posse to fight these guys, this criminal and his buddies that are coming into town. And the whole town basically, he can't find one man to stand with him in this town that he's defended for like 30-something years.
Right.
And he ends up going out there by himself, and, I won't spoil what happens.
Pretty cool.
But it's an awesome fucking movie, and it's not about...
I don't think I have seen it.
And basically it was called Un-American because it portrayed his town as cowards. But, I mean, he's an American, too, and he kicked ass, and it was kind of about the failure of collectivism and how the individual has to handle shit sometimes.
The rugged individual sheriff, who is on his fucking last legs.
To me, that seems like a super fucking American movie, but it was labeled as fucking, it's communist, so that's...
Well, whatever.
That's how retarded this shit got, basically, is what I'm saying.
So there was another little component that I learned about that I didn't know much about. I'd kind of heard of it before. You guys heard of the Lavender Scare?
No.
So this was a component of the Red Scare that, not a lot of people talk about. Few Americans know that McCarthy also charged that the government had been infiltrated by homosexuals and that they posed a threat equally as grave to national security. The fear that gay men and lesbians could be blackmailed into revealing state secrets resulted in a systematic campaign to identify and remove all government employees suspected of homosexuality. So if you go to the next couple of slides through, TJ, don't look at that. We'll go to that one. Yeah, that next one there.
Oh. Wow.
So this is McCarthy and his assistant Roy Cohn, who was himself...
Who are clearly fucking.
They're very
I
close.
don't know if they were fucking, but Roy Cohn himself was known to be a homosexual.
No, they're fucking.
Closeted at this point.
I immediately looked at this picture and knew these men were fucking. So
Ted Haggard is completely heterosexual.
I mean, look, he wants to suck his dick right now.
Right.
And clearly McCarthy...
I won't argue.
Clearly McCarthy just got his dick sucked under whatever fucking surface they're fucking with there. So...
McCarthy made these unsubstantiated charges, and the State Department at first denied that it employed any suspected communists or homosexuals. But under intense questioning from McCarthy's Republican allies, they did admit that they had fired 91 homosexuals as quote-unquote security risks. This deemed to substantiate McCarthy's otherwise wild charges and increase his popular support. Soon, outraged citizens, newspaper editors, and members of Congress were calling for an investigation. In the summer of 1950, a committee of the U.S. Senate investigated the employment of homosexuals and other sex perverts in the government.
What?
Although they could not uncover a single example of a homosexual American citizen who had betrayed secrets as a result of blackmail, they wrote a highly circulated and influential report that asserted that gay men and lesbians exhibited weak moral character and had a corrosive influence on their fellow employees. So I guess gay was catching back in the day. You have a gay guy in the building, and all of a sudden everybody's wanting to suck each other's dicks. You know how it is.
Well, let me suck a dick.
That sounds cool.
One homosexual can pollute a government office, the Senate report concluded. Based on little evidence, the attacks...
Who needs evidence when you have unsubstantiated claims?
Right. Well,
look, we have rumors and innuendos.
Right.
What else do we need?
Based on little evidence, the attacks represented a way for Republicans, the minority party at the time, to attack the Democrats and the New Deal agencies, and that continues to this day,
It's
too.
the party queers over there.
Yep, that idea that the Democrats are all about this weird pansexuals and trannies. And
I'd almost liken it more to, like, Muslims at this point.
That, too. I mean, that's part of it, too.
Because it's like the fucking two Muslim Congress women, what is it, Ilhan Omar and Rashida
Tlaib, yeah.
That's correct.
There's so much fucking unsubstantiated fear-mongering bullshit circulating
They're a
around
bunch
those
of
two
terrorists
right now.
over there.
It's like they're not loyal to us. They're loyal to fucking Al-Qaeda or whatever the fuck bullshit.
They don't like this country. They should leave. Go back to Somalia where you came from.
Go back to your shit hole.
You want to criticize this great country? What do you think your job is? Your job is to say, you love America and pledge allegiance to that flag.
Yeah.
Flag that gave you fucking safe haven.
So McCarthy eventually overstepped. He picked on Hollywood. He picked on the State Department. Everybody loved him for it.
He made too
the
many
Republican
enemies.
Party did. But he eventually roused the ire of the American public when he pointed the finger at the U.S. Army. And he had a series of hearings over the course of 2 months that were, for the first time, by the way, televised on ABC. Of various witnesses turned up greatly reduced McCarthy's popularity. It was in these hearings that, well, we can play the next video and we'll hear the famous line, "Have you no sense of decency?" in the exchange here.
Mr. Chairman. May I say that Mr. Welch talks about this being cruel and reckless. He was just baiting. He has been baiting Mr. Cohen here for hours, requesting that Mr. Cohen, before sundown,
All right, I see what you mean about him being boring.
Yeah.
get out of any department of the government anyone who is serving the communist cause. Now, I just give this man's record, and I want to say, Mr. Welch, that it has been labeled long before he became a member, as early as 1944.
Senator, may we not drop this? We know he belongs to the Lawyers Guild.
Let me finish.
And Mr. Cohen nods his head at me. I did you, I think, no personal injury, Mr. Cohen.
No, sir.
I meant to do you no personal injury. And if I did, I beg your pardon. Let us not assassinate this lad further, Senator. You've done enough. Have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you left no sense of decency?
I love how he just looks down.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
he really
No,
does.
he doesn't.
He lingers silent for a long time, and this
I know
really.
it hurts you, Mr. Welch.
I'll
But
say it
may I
hurts.
say, Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
as a point of personal privilege,
Mr.
I'd like to finish this.
Senator, I think it hurts you too, sir.
I'd like to finish
It
this.
does.
I know Mr. Cohen would rather not have me go into this. I intend to, however.
So
See,
you
they didn't. See, this is where his similarity with Trump ends, because Trump would have just been like, "You're indecent.
right.
You're
Whoa.
I'm the most decent. You have no decency.
glue, and whatever you say bounce off of
Shut up. You're an idiot. I bet you're a communist." You know, it'd been like something like that.
So this exchange, along with a number of other tense exchanges, and the obvious fact that it turned up absolutely no evidence of collusion with the U.S. Army and Russia, the public got enough of McCarthy. Seeing him in action was what really did him in, and this was the first time that they'd really gotten
people
a
had
look
enough
at
of
what he was doing up there.
Well, people had enough of those fucking witch hunts, and this guy is kind of a great counterbalance to that. Kind of like, what the fuck are we even doing here? Like, really, are we gonna keep going over the same fucking point over and over again? There's no evidence. Obviously, if you had something, you wouldn't be holding these ridiculous fucking hearings constantly and not finding anything.
And, really, I think it was also just stepping on the toes of the Army, who even in times of peace, which this really wasn't,
very
there were
popular
multiple
in the US.
conflicts going on at this time. So, yeah, it was still a very militaristic country, and him insinuating that our boys fighting over there might all be commies, or some of them might be, was just
Plus,
too much.
I mean,
They're fighting against
I mean,
it actively. Shut the fuck up.
let's
What are
be
you
honest
talking
too.
about?
The Navy was probably shaking in its boots about like, are they really going to go after homos in the Navy?
Yeah. Oh fuck,
'Cause,
man.
Jesus, what are we going to do?
I mean, like, let's be real.
We better get this
In the
boat
Navy.
ship shape.
There's a reason that
Get
the
out of your
Village people
bunks.
have a fucking song about the Navy. Okay.
Get out of your bunks, boys. Shave that mustache, Gomez. I've told you a million times it's not military regulations. Okay. We may have had a la-di-da time up until this point, gentlemen, but we are going to have a stiff upper lip from now on.
That's not always gonna be stiff.
No more hooey-fooey. Let's poop the decks. Go. I'm sorry. That's not the Navy's. The Navy's a very distinguished organization.
It's-
Yeah,
the
a
most
very
heter-
distinguished
and
homosexual organization.
Gay people aren't like that.
Yes,
either.
they are.
It's actually
I feel the need to.
Some are, dude.
Okay, some of them are, but that's not all gay.
Am I doing
Not-
the two people
hashtag
thing?
not all gays.
Because there's a lot that are like that. I'm sorry. It's true in that case.
So you guys may be shocked. Oh wow, don't do this, TJ. You can't. Oh well, you're just gonna leave it.
I'm just gonna,
This is the straightest organization in the world, Paul.
Yes.
There's
just
actually
gonna
not
play
one that
this.
have-
I'm not gonna play the music.
These are not people that are actually in the Navy. This is a gay disco band
So
dressed
what?
up in Navy
Why do you
suits.
think they made a song about the Navy?
Because they're so impressed that no one in the Navy, not a single person in the Navy, has ever been found to be a
They
homosexual.
sang a song about the YMCA because you could get your dick sucked by another
Look,
dude at
there's
the
all
YMCA.
look, all of America is represented here. They're all gay.
Yeah.
There's an Indian chief.
Oh,
there's
TJ,
a cop.
TJ, by the way, you can play at least 5 seconds of this without getting any sort of copy thing.
Hey,
Cool.
Best of luck.
our channel's
No,
demonetized as a whole anyway.
They've actually
so.
said that on YouTube. That's YouTube's official
Hey,
policy.
that's cute. That is good to know.
So you can play 5 seconds if you want, TJ.
All right, I'll play 5 seconds of the song.
Yep, without
Better
getting
play
flagged.
4. Okay,
There we go.
it's gay.
It's pretty
The
gay.
straightest song you've ever heard. I don't know what you're talking about, Paul.
In the Navy, you could suck a lot of dick in the Navy.
Well,
and
there's
it's
women-
nice and big and thick.
Look, there's women in the Navy. You're talking about the women in the Navy sucking the dick, right, TJ?
I was at a meetup. I'm not gonna fucking say I agree with what this dude said. But I was at a meetup, and he said he was in the Navy, and I was like, "So is it true that there's like a lot of fucking gay shit in the Navy?" And he was like, "Yeah, on that." And then I don't know what I asked him. I asked him something about women in the Navy, and he said all the women in the Navy are sluts.
Oh. Well, there must be a lot of heterosexual fucking going on.
There is.
too.
I mean, I'm not saying the Navy is 100% gay. I'm just saying that gay dudes traditionally have been attracted to be a life of being seamen.
Here's the thing. Let me tell you something about the fucking
That's why
military.
it's called seamen, dude.
The military is about people that all just want to fuck a lot, dude. Pretty much everyone in the military that I've ever met has a bunch of kids or wants to have a bunch of kids. It's just like, it's a culture of just fucking and sluttiness is unimaginable.
Wow. Cool.
The sex army.
The military sounds
Well,
kind of cool.
If you're active duty, think about this, Paul. Once you go through basic training, what the fuck are you doing? Unless you're deployed somewhere, you're going to be like,
I'm going to join the army,
you would get laid a lot.
find some sluts, bang them. My Johnson. Be like, hey, baby.
This is like my private John.
And Paul, the good thing about you, Paul, is you're not going to have to worry about the kids part. You're good. You're covered.
I'm a private. I want to see. I want to see my privates.
So, do you want me to play the Glenn Beck video?
Yeah, well, just as an example that this never really goes away. I mean, it might be amplified at different times, and we'll talk about the most recent example of that.
Sure.
But let's look at a little bit back in time. These are kind of hard to find as an aside. Glenn Beck's 2010 rantiness, where he's on the blackboard and he's got this insane, like, schizophrenic person's idea of a narrative. Where you just watch. These are hard to find.
I want to talk to you tonight about communism, and I have to tell you, I know how many people in America feel when somebody gets on TV and says, "I got to talk to you about the communist." 3 years ago, I mean, I would have made fun of people like me. I would have mocked me. I would have.
I still do.
Yeah, well, I agree. I gotta say, 3 years ago, Glenn Beck. Well, 3 years before this, Glenn Beck was probably the one that I'd have.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'd agree.
Oh,
This
dude.
is 10. This is a 2010.
TJ, I remember this
Glenn Beck.
time period. You fucking could not stand Glenn Beck.
Oh my God, no.
I mean, I will say this though. You had kind of an envy. I mean, like you really love those blackboards. I remember like talking. You're like, dude, the fucking Glenn Beck blackboards are awesome, but he's a fucking idiot.
I mean, he definitely was on to something for a while, but just watch a little
Don't
more
fall
of this.
into that trap, please, tonight. Open your mind, open your ears. The country is in trouble. I don't want to believe many of the things that I believe. I think you're the same. But there are communists, believe it or not, communists. It's amazing. I thought we beat it. The best thing to ever happen to the communists was the Red Scare and Joseph McCarthy.
McCartney, dude, come on.
Help! I need somebody. Good old Joseph McCartney, the fifth Beatle. Oh wait, no, that was George Harrison.
We had beat communism. We soundly discredited it. Okay, that's what I thought when the wall came down. Joseph McCarthy.
Sounds like he almost wanted
he
to do
was a
it
joke,
again.
Right? In every sense, people viewed communists in his day as traitors who wanted to destroy America. They crept into the unions, especially the teacher unions. That coupled with the colleges. Now you have a situation where communists were starting to be the ones writing and teaching our history.
All
Now
of
what
them.
happens?
Every history teacher I ever had was like literally almost spoke broken English because
They just give you a copy
Russian
of,
native speakers.
Hello, comrade.
They just give you
After
Howerton's
communism fell-
People History of the United States.
Welcome to U.S. history. Turn open to chapter Stalin is best. Start to read, please.
We have children growing up now that don't even know what communism is. Now you have.
Wouldn't that be a good thing?
Yeah, well, no, because they're still there. He's trying to convince us that despite the fact that at this point nobody really cared about communism anymore,
Dude,
we needed to worry about
even
it.
though this fucking board is blurry as shit and low res, I can tell that's a picture of fucking Michael Moore over there.
Of course. He's in there.
That's so true.
You see his big fat ass.
Oh, dude, after Obama got elected,
Michael Moore and fucking Stalin and
Yep. He's up there with everybody, dude. Bill
there's
Ayers.
Lenin. There's fucking.
Well, TJ, me and you lived in Louisiana at that time.
Yeah.
When after Obama got elected, I remember everyone was like, you know what? You know, right, that Obama is a communist and a socialist, right? Like, you understand that, like, America is finally in the hands of communists.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, yeah, Obama is a commie.
Which is why he's talking about it now.
That was huge.
That
Of
was
course. Of course. Like, it's just like, look, watch the insane, like, how we're supposed to follow this insane patchwork of his
Everybody
psyche.
get ready.
The discrediting of Joseph McCarthy. The question is, was Joseph McCarthy right?
No.
Was he right?
But
remember the
if he was
time
right, he
period
would have
that we're
discovered
talking
a
about.
single instance.
We're talking at the height of the Cold War.
Okay.
That's when William Ayers is into Marxism. That's when all of the people who are ruling now.
I love how Bill Ayers was made into a thing just because of Obama.
Yeah.
Basically, like he was never a notable figure in history or anything prior to that. But then when you could use him to smear Obama, all of a sudden he's this important fucking figure.
Of course.
Everyone's looking to
in
it.
the grand
Everyone.
scheme of communism taking over America.
Are into Marxism. Marxism wasn't cool then. Marxism isn't like it is now. If you were a Marxist then, you were a Soviet sympathizer. You were a traitor to our country.
A citation needed.
No, I would say the people who are trying to censor certain political speech and political opinions are the ones who are un-American.
But they're protecting us, TJ. They're keeping us safe.
No, they're not.
What do you mean? What do you mean
The
they're
idea,
not?
it's just the idea of we need to be kept safe from ourselves because we can't make our own decisions.
Oh, no.
We can't decide our own politics.
It's that, but TJ, it's that.
There has to be verboten ideas.
You don't understand, TJ. It's that bad group from elsewhere who's going to poison us with those bad ideas. So we have to protect against those bad ideas by censoring what people think and do.
Yeah, and it goes on to this day in multiple forms, and it's on the left and it's on the right, and it's fucking always wrong.
Well, it's an
always
effective
bad.
tool. You use a tool as long as it's effective, right?
Yes.
Then why would you?
So
why would anyone stop?
I wish that Americans would get over it. I wish that America would look at this Russia fear-mongering, this communist fear-mongering, whatever fucking new enemy you're supposed to have.
Can we get over it? Do
I
you
just
think
wish
that?
I wish we would just look at it and say, you know what? Fuck you. Maybe the person who's trying to convince me that everyone's my enemy is my real enemy.
Uh-oh.
Well, in that battle, TJ, I don't think you're winning.
You'd better keep your mouth shut, TJ.
Yeah, I guess so.
That into perspective. It's not the same then as it is now. Here is Barack Obama's mentor, Frank Marshall Davis. He has an FBI file on his communist.
FBI got a file on me.
Yep.
The FBI had a file on MLK, too. Is he a communist?
Yes. Well, of course he was.
Yeah.
Activities.
He was smeared as one at the time, so.
We have the Venona papers were released in the 1980s. What did these say?
My Venona.
I love how he's just pointing at them.
Look at this, and then look at this.
Look at that. Look at this.
Was he thinking about Romeo and Juliet, Fair Verona? I mean, what's going on?
Sorry, in 1995 this was released. What did these papers say? Well, remember, the KGB was compiling here. They say that everything that basically this man said was right.
Dude, I need to start fucking drawing out timelines
let me tell you
and
something,
shit
dude.
and pointing to random
Glenn
pictures.
Beck.
This is pretty cool presentation.
Glenn Beck misses calling as a conspiracy theorist in fucking movies, dude. Just have him show up and be like, Glenn, you can say whatever you want for this scene, as long as it includes these three things.
These people over here mean that this guy over here was what everything he said was correct. And then this picture over here is Barack Obama's mentor. And bringing it back to the KGB. You see these three pictures?
All
they
evil.
exist over here. And they mean that this picture that comes after it are directly linked to these pictures over here.
Were happening. There were communists everywhere.
Yes,
and they affected
there were.
This is basically just a really complicated game of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon,
Yes.
everything. I'm sorry, they didn't affect. They infected.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely everything.
Better word.
Wow.
Here,
They love that analogy a lot.
These pictures just get, there's more and more of them. Look, and
in
then there's the
2000,
flags up
we have
here.
Giselle with her under.
Damn, all right.
Yeah.
Are you trying to sell me on communism? Is that what's going on here?
Do you guys remember that time period in America? Just
Oh, dude, Michael Moore is totally like dead ass.
Is
you know
that
what I'm
really
saying?
him?
It looks like
it looks
him.
like Michael Moore.
I'm pretty sure that's a young Michael
But you guys
Moore,
remember
dude.
that?
It looks hard. It looks less like him closer up.
Well, you guys remember throughout our.
I'm 90%
Well, TJ,
sure that's
you remember
Michael Moore,
after
dude.
Joseph McCarthy was silenced, TJ.
What?
We had that period of communism just ruling the country. You remember that, right?
Oh yeah, that was horrible. I remember when
we had that communist little, and now we're kind of flirting with communism.
Remember the
again.
bread lines and shit?
Oh yeah, I mean I do.
It's gonna be worse under fucking Sanders, dude. It'll be worse.
I heard he's leading some polls, TJ. So if he wins, that's the future we can expect.
He can lead my poll anytime.
Swimsuit of Che.
Go join
we
the
have
Navy.
this Marxist. Here is a very important time. Here's Michael Moore coming
See, Paul?
into the party.
Stupid ass Paul don't know what
And
Michael
now
Moore look like.
Michael Moore
Dude,
is
Michael
here.
Moore sits at the head of all tables, dude. Look at him. Look at his big fat ass sitting up
There's
there.
this fucking commie piece of shit right
Look
here.
at this pile of communists that all lead to Michael Moore.
Yeah, Stalin,
Michael
Mao.
The Baron Harkonnen of communism.
Into the Democratic Party, sitting in the presidential box in 2004.
You know how many Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has sat in that box?
With Jimmy Carter.
Also a communist.
That is critical that you remember that. The infiltration, the final step, come out on the stage and sit next to the president. There's a ton that you need to know. That's how we got here.
Isn't that what you just told us? This
Yeah.
pile of pictures over here led to that pile
Yeah,
of
there's a
pictures over
timeline.
there.
Wouldn't want to assume the timeline behind you.
That's how
tells-
we. That's the
that's what-
ultimate
that-
expression of how we got here.
Yeah, that's the purpose of a timeline. Is like these events led to these events.
Ugh.
I don't know. Glenn Beck's just nuts, dude.
Once again, just wafer thin bullshit. But as you
I
guys
think we just
know,
need to make the circus music the fucking theme song to our show.
say what you want about the degradation of society, but at least we as a nation have gotten over this stupid Russian bait and shit, right?
We're done with it, man.
Yeah, we're done. It's
Totally
over.
done with it. Now I gotta eat a little bit of crow here.
You got to eat a lot
now,
of crow.
well, okay. I'll eat a moderate amount of crow,
Eat a
and
fat
people will
stack of
still be
crow.
mad at me.
No, hey,
A fat stack
Wait
of
a minute.
crow.
No, you need to go to the fucking crow buffet
Listen,
and fucking fill up that plate.
TJ, you and I hate to invoke his holy name, but you know George Carlin's freak show analogy. You and I
Yes.
got in a scuffle about it earlier
We
on in
did.
our. Well, I've come to change my tune.
Okay.
I was a Russiagator, but only from the perspective that it would have been literally the most entertaining thing that ever happened.
I can actually
If-
appreciate that to some
If
extent.
Trump had been a literal fucking failboat of a bad comedy movie quality Russian asset that somehow bumbled his way into the presidency and then got caught peeing on a fucking underage prostitute.
He's on Russia's payroll, but he's about to get the most important job in the United States.
Whatever. I wanted to believe. I'll admit it. I'll eat some crow. But it's just an example. I think there were a lot of people like me, honestly. They were just like, this is the most hilarious thing
I thought
I've
there
ever
was
heard.
some credibility.
I did too.
I mean, I wasn't like totally like this is just 100% false, but I mean, I still don't know that it's I mean, like, I think that did Russia try to influence our election? I'm sure they did.
Well,
there's
that's
evidence
not
of
I don't
that.
think that that's
Yeah.
even disputable. They tried. What I dispute is that it was at all effective on any level.
Right. Yeah, I did. Dude, I wanted so badly a world where the PP tape dropped and the fucking president. I mean, it just is such an elevation of the, reality TV show star becomes
Give
president.
me your golden shower.
I mean, that would be a great start to season 2. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And it's just an example of how Russia is still used as this, you want to fucking paint a politician in a bad light. You want to paint somebody in the government in a bad light. You want to paint the opposing party in a bad light. Really, all you got to do is point your finger and scream Russia. You know what I mean?
Russia.
And it's we just looked at tons of examples of it in this country. And
Don't you think that it's kind of just another sign that the Democratic Party does not, at this point, represent the interests of the citizens of this country?
Of course.
Because they're basically they've now jumped on to this this line that was used to discredit unions and discredit universal health care and discredit. It basically just like they're jumping on the business classes go-to fucking boogeyman, which is communism and Russia, and Trump's been influenced and Trump
when Nancy
is
Pelosi
a puppet.
was elected Speaker of
And
the
they said the
House.
same thing about Tulsi Gabbard, by the way. They smeared her as
Bernie
a commie.
is
TJ,
They've
all the
smeared
time.
Russia. Bernie
here's
has
the
been
thing.
smeared
The
as
minute we got Nancy Pelosi
in Russia's pocket and in Putin's pocket, basically.
The minute we got Nancy Pelosi, you knew the Democratic Party was bought and paid for because she doesn't represent anyone besides big business.
I mean, well, that's both. I mean, it's just more examples of how broken our two-party system has become. There are substantive differences between the parties. I'm not going to allege that there aren't.
Of course.
But those differences are largely like political football issues, wedge issues that are designed to keep people fighting amongst
Well, there needs to be some
themselves.
difference between them in order for people to vote for one side or the other.
And really, it's business as usual for both parties. When it comes to using these kind of spooky scare tactics and stuff, neither party is, innocent of having used this in the past or continuing to use this as a way to just keep suspicions amongst the populace and
Want to demonize your political opponent.
right, demonize your political opponent and keep people squabbling amongst themselves as you just play the longest and most lucrative game of ping pong behind the scenes that's ever been played and probably ever will be played. It's all the same. These dudes are bar buddies behind the scenes. All this rancor that they show on the fucking Senate floor and the House floor, it melts away. It's a show. It's a pageant, and it always has been. I mean, I'm not alleging that this is some new thing. I think the show, as was presented tonight, at least makes a strong argument that the more
goes
things
back
change,
to antiquity.
yeah, the more things change, the more they fucking stay the same. What is this? Is this some patriotic music, TJ?
No.
Oh yeah. There we go.
Well, maybe it is.
Yeah, I guess now it is.
I think actually, now that I think about it, maybe this should be the national anthem.
I'm fine with it.
You know what? I'm gonna fucking make a petition.
Dude, I'll fucking stand out with my hand over my heart if this is the national anthem, dude. Because you want to know why? Because for the first time in my life, I feel like it's an anthem that's true to America and what it represents and what it's all about.
There you go.
Everyone
I'll
stand for fucking 10 hours of the circus music.
Yeah, Calliope music time.
If you don't stand the whole time, you don't love America.
What a joke.
In a wheelchair, no excuse, communists. Keep standing up.
If you sit down, you're a commie. What if I'm in a wheelchair? Then you're already a commie. Get out of here, you defective.
Yeah.
You are obsolete, TJ.
Obsolete.
I'm kind of sick of it.
You are a Russian agent.
I want to move to Russia.
Let's move to Russia where things are good.
Yeah. There's like, what do they got in Russia that's good?
I see those, like, they have those litter patrols, dude. They'll literally take the trash and throw it back in your car and shit, dude.
Damn.
Travel.
They don't put up with no bullshit.
Russia. Let's see what we get. What was good?
I mean, they
What's
also
some good ass shit in Russia?
They also have those like kind of strong laws against homosexuality and shit. Like kind of like we covered how it's all cyclical in the show.
Yeah.
They have those laws, Paul.
Let's go see how the other side lives.
Not much freedom of speech. Actually, if you're a political
to
dissident,
do
Paul, you may be
in
killed
Russia.
by the Russian government.
Well, just don't be a dissident then.
Yeah, I just like
If you
the
tell
reason I want to go there is because I want to get the fuck away from
Do you
politics.
want to go as like a Steven Seagal kind of thing, where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go live there and be like, Putin's great, and hang out and have your buddy
No,
and shit?
I mean, I just kind of want to go there and not be political. I just want to just eat food and stuff and be in a place that's not America. I want to see, like I said, I want to see how the other side lives.
Damn it, I'm trying to find this.
Look, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. If I can't be a political dissident there, fuck it. I'll go. I'll
I think
play
by your
video
very
games and
nature,
shit.
I
Can
think
you
by
play
your
video
very
games?
nature, Paul.
You get video games? Well, they do. I have to play with
steal
stupid ass
them.
Russians all the goddamn time.
Dude, you would steal the games though in Russia. All your Russian friends would be like, Paul, you pay. You'd be like, oh, I'm
Tourism
sorry.
in
Oh,
Russia.
I know pay,
I know
comrade.
All right,
Game
so,
is for everyone.
They've got a lot of notable museums.
Dope. I like museums. There's nothing political. Well, sometimes
they
art
got the
can be political.
Trans-Siberian Railway.
Yeah, there you go.
You can ride the Trans-Siberian
Oh
fucking
yeah,
railway.
that's not. It doesn't. There's a lot of intrigue on that train every time you ride it. Like there's a
Yeah,
big
I
murder
guess.
mystery I think that breaks out every time.
every single time.
Yeah.
They have some resorts and some nature tourism.
Da.
You can look at here's some. I'll show you some pictures.
Yeah, show me some pictures of some of the beautiful Russian stuff that
You
we
got.
can go do.
You can go see. Oh, that's not it.
That's horrible.
You
Well,
can go
look at
see
that.
the Valley of Geysers.
Ooh,
That's cool.
In the
that looks cool.
Kamchatka Peninsula. Looks pretty neat.
Oh, duh.
This is Lake Baikal. I
beautiful.
think, something like that.
Looks pretty.
This is Mount Elbrus.
That's
with its 2 peaks. Looks like a pair of titties.
Oh, yeah, it does look like a big old pair of titties.
And then this is the Man Pumpuner. I fucking that up
Russia's
for
got
sure.
some
rock
sights to
formations.
see. Some beautiful nature to see.
Damn.
So this is like a naturally occurring Stonehenge, basically, you know?
Damn, like fucking stupid-ass European capitalist pig dogs, they all had to fucking build their Stonehenge. In Russia, Stonehenge build you.
They've got some, you can eat some borscht. You know?
Borscht?
Yeah, borscht.
Borscht.
It's not, there's no T.
Borscht.
It's borscht.
Borscht.
Beet soup, TJ.
Yeah,
Da.
I don't really like beets, but, you know.
Shut.
It's a
Hey,
thing.
You eat.
you keep mouth shut.
We could eat one of these,
You
whatever
love
the fuck
beet.
this is. This is a vat truce.
Oh, that looks pretty good. It looks
Dude,
like
I
a
want
bagel with
that.
some cheese melted all up
Is
in
that
it.
potatoes in it, or is
Or
that
maybe, yeah,
cheese?
maybe it's taters.
Russian
Cottage cheese.
Russian pie with Russian cottage cheese.
Russians like shit like
delicious.
what, like goulash and shit, right?
This is
Russian chocolate.
I guess. I
That
don't
looks
know.
good. I don't
It's
know.
I don't know.
Yeah, it looks okay.
More
I'll
chocolate.
eat
Russian
that. Fuck
Twinkies?
yeah.
You
I don't know
Russian
those.
boots.
Shoes, I guess. Beads.
Russian
They look like
beads.
corn. Some kind of stupid.
That looks. This is. Are you sure this is
Vase.
Russian?
Yep, it is.
Okay.
This is all Russian.
Some Russian art.
Some
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of
that's
tea
cool. There's a
thing.
Russian teapot.
A duck.
Oh
Some
yeah, big
some
fat
big
Russian
fat
bitch.
bitch.
They make them thick in Russia.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
There's Lenin there.
Ah, da.
Oh yeah, of course, the Russian nested doll. Yeah. What else they got?
Fucking textiles, TJ, wristwatches, furs.
They got all kinds of stuff. You know, dangerous animals.
Oh, do they have dangerous animals? There you go.
Cool. Sounds like I don't know. I could do it.
And look at this. If you guys are worried about going, most Russian cities are safe to visit.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go to Mother Russia.
Just stay away from North Caucasus or Caucasus.
Yeah, don't go around
Don't go
there.
over there.
They don't like you there.
But everywhere
Don't like
else, you go to Moscow, da.
Moscow.
We party, yeah. We have a good
Moscow.
time in Moscow.
Moscow.
I'd go. Would you guys go to Russia?
I'd go to Russia.
Let's see.
Would you go to Moscow and party for a couple of weeks?
Yeah, sure, I guess.
Do as the Russians do.
Rich cultural heritage.
You have to get like a visa though, and you have to like book a hotel or like a tour sponsor thing.
Major tourist routes in Russia include a travel around the Golden Ring of ancient cities. Cruises on the big rivers include the Volga. And long journeys on the famous Trans-Siberian
Volga?
Railway.
That
dude.
sounds oddly sexual.
It does. It sounds like
the
vulva.
Volga.
It sounds like vulva.
Oh, vulva, yeah.
That's why. Diverse regions and ethnic cultures of Russia offer many different foods and souvenirs and show a great variety of traditions, including Russian
Dizam.
Maslenitsa, I don't know, and a bunch of other fucking difficult to pronounce
Hey,
words.
it sounds pretty interesting.
They're visited by 33 million tourists a year, so it's the ninth most visited country in the world.
Why not go?
Do we have any Russian fans? Have we ever met a Russian fan?
Yeah, I haven't, but you know.
No.
Are they allowed to be fans of us over there?
I don't know. Are we subversive there?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'm
I
not sure
hope
about the
not.
rules.
Hope I can just go over there. Like, I'd like to go to like a big city, and then I'd like to just get a cabin out in the wilderness and shit.
Oh yeah, there's this fucking thing too. This fucking building, you know.
The
fucking
Kremlin or whatever.
Nothing the Kremlin. That's fucking
Whatever. The Kremlin is a thing
Saint
too over there.
Basil's Cathedral,
All right.
dog.
Well, what's the Kremlin look like? Look up the Kremlin. It's
don't
got
know.
those onion fucking things on it too.
Yeah,
don't it?
everyone knows that fucking building.
Kremlin.
Yeah, look up the Kremlin, man.
Kremlin.
That's where I want to go.
I'm looking it up.
I need to go there anyway to talk to my supervisor.
Oh shit.
I mean, to just see the history of the place.
All right, show's over. Goodbye.